So the Minnesota Vikings are 9-2 on the season, and the biggest question now is, are they a legit contender in the NFC? I believe so, and I'm going to tell you why. This is one of the best defenses in the NFL, and that's where I'm going to start this video off with. It's the defense. Brian Flores has been a phenomenal defensive coordinator all season long. Even in the past, he's been a great defensive mind, but he is really starting to work his magic this season with the Minnesota Vikings. And do not be surprised if he starts taking interviews to be a head coach yet again, because he was a head coach a couple of years ago with the Miami Dolphins. I look at this defense, they're complete. From the front seven to the back end of this defense, it's going to be hard to face the Minnesota Vikings, especially if you have a weak offensive line. Even if you do have a good offensive line, your communication better be on point, because this is a defense, they blitz a lot, but it's hard to go out there and figure out the blitz. Yes, they have 2 losses on the season, one against the Los Angeles Rams and one against the Detroit Lions, but it's not because their defense let them down. In that Rams game, it came down to a face mask penalty that was not called in the red zone, and I do believe that Sam Darnold would have led them down the field and possibly went out there and converted a 2-point conversion attempt. But it didn't happen. But their defense was not the reason why they lost those football games. A lot of it is because Sam Darnold is turning the football over at times. And when Sam Darnold doesn't turn the football over, this is when this defense can really pin their ears back and get after your quarterback. Andrew Van Ginkel has 9 sacks on the season, and he has 2 pick sixes, one against the New York Jets over there when they played in London, and one against the New York Giants. For whatever reason, when he goes against New York teams, he goes off. He deserves to be in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation. He's a complete linebacker. He's amazing in coverage. He's great at stopping the run, and he can get to the quarterback at a high clip. This is a definition of a complete defensive player, and Brian Flores has really built this front seven around him. I know that you may hear names on this defense up front, such as Jonathan Bullard, who is a very good run stopper, and Jonathan Grenard, who they got from the Houston Texans. And those are very good players. But Andrew Van Ginkel, he makes this entire thing go. When you see that how he's able to go out there and read certain plays, now quarterbacks are just avoiding him at the line of scrimmage. And I love the way that Brian Flores is able to move him around across the line of scrimmage. And you look at the other players that surround him in that front seven. Like I mentioned before, you bring in Jonathan Grenard because you lost Danielle Hunter in free agency. Oddly enough, Jonathan Grenard was a former pass rusher for the Houston Texans, and Danielle Hunter went to the Houston Texans, and he was a very good pass rusher for the Minnesota Vikings over the last few years. But Jonathan Grenard is a very underrated player. He's good at going out there and stopping the run and getting to the quarterback on a high clip. You look at Pat Jones. This is a man that not too many people talk about. He has 7 sacks on the season as I record this video, and he also fits that prototype that Brian Flores loves. A guy that can go out there and stop the run, set the edge, get to the quarterback, and just cause a lot of disruption. And a lot of the times when the Minnesota Vikings are not getting sacks, they're getting a lot of pressure. And it's causing the quarterback to go out there and make dumb decisions. It makes the quarterback go out there and speed up his clock. And even against the Los Angeles Rams in that Thursday night game, they had Matthew Stafford dead to rights. Matthew Stafford just went out there and made a lot of crazy plays by breaking tackles. But not every quarterback is going to be like Matthew Stafford. We've seen them go out there and face very good competition. Look at what they did to the Houston Texans and CJ Stroud. Went out there and they only held them to 7 points. You're doing that to one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And they gave the Green Bay Packers a lot of problems. They forced Jordan Love to go out there and throw 3 interceptions on the day. This is not a fluke situation. Many years ago, when they made the NFL playoffs with Kirk Cousins and they went against the New York Giants, their defense was terrible. Coach Ed was a terrible defensive coordinator. You bring over Brian Flores, this is a completely different story. This is a more complete team than that team was a few years ago. And this defense is a huge part of it. And I just want to give Brian Flores his flowers, because not only are they good at stopping the run, they've been very good at stopping the pass also. Stephon Gilmore, we know what he is. He is still a very good veteran cornerback to have. Is he the same cornerback that he once was with the New England Patriots when he won Defensive Player of the Year? No, but he's a veteran cornerback and he knows how to play the game. And he's going to go out there and slow down the opposing wide receiver. And if he's not the guy to do so, you're going to put a lot of pressure on the quarterback and force him to get the football out quick. You also have Byron Murphy, who is holding things down in the nickel position. He has 4 interceptions on the season and 8 pass deflections. He was very good last season with the Minnesota Vikings. You have Cameron Bynum at the safety position and Harrison Smith. This man has been phenomenal. His entire career. Just a good veteran safety to have that you can put inside the box, and he has good instincts to play the single high safety position also. But he doesn't have to because you have Cameron Bynum. So when you have Harrison Smith, who is a thumper, who can play closer to the line of scrimmage, he could take away tight ends and take a lot of routes away across the middle of the field. He's a Swiss Army knife that they have in the secondary. So when I look at the defensive pieces that they have, it is going to be hard to put up points on the Minnesota Vikings. And while you're having a tough time doing that, you look at this offense that they've carved out with Sam Darnold. This is one of the best stories in the NFL. If you listen to this channel for quite some time, you know that I'm a sucker for comeback stories. I'm a sucker with it with Baker Mayfield, and the same with Geno Smith. I love to see when quarterbacks can move from one situation and find success elsewhere. Sam Darnold was drafted by the New York Jets, and it seemed like he had no future in the NFL. They traded him to the Carolina Panthers. For the first couple of weeks, he looked very good. Then he got injured. Christian McCaffrey got injured. Terrible offensive line. He was able to return the next season. In the back half of that season with Steve Wilks, he looked like a competent quarterback. But he went over to the San Francisco 49ers. He became their backup quarterback. Now he's with the Minnesota Vikings, and he looks very good. Are there some games that Sam Darnold will make you go out there and make you scratch your head and say, okay, what is going on with Sam Darnold? Yeah, sure. Look at what happened to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Look at what happened in that matchup. He had 0 passing touchdowns to 3 interceptions, but yet they won that game 12-7 because their defense is so good. And granted, it's against one of the worst teams in the NFL, but at the same time, you want to see, can you win games if Sam Darnold's having an off day? And you can. And Sam Darnold has done a better job of taking care of the football the last 2 weeks. Against the Chicago Bears today, 2 passing touchdowns, 330 passing yards. Against the Tennessee Titans, 246 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He had 2 interceptions against the Indianapolis Colts, 3 interceptions against the Jacksonville Jaguars, and he played a clean game against the Los Angeles Rams. Sam Darnold, all he has to do is just take care of the football. He has 21 passing touchdowns on the season to just 10 interceptions. Just take care of the football. That's it. And don't put the football in harm's way. Now, this offense, they have taken a step back. Christian at the left tackle position, he went down against the Los Angeles Rams, but they brought in big Cam Robinson. Cam Robinson is a very solid tackle to have. He's no Christian. Christian is one of the best left tackles in the game. And you see how much of a game changer he is up front, because majority of the time over the last few weeks when Sam Darnold will have these sporadic moments, it's because he's dealing with a lot of pressure off the left side. But in today's game against the Chicago Bears, he was sacked and beat up a lot. He did not throw an interception. He did not put the football in harm's way. And I do believe when the pressure is on Sam Darnold the most, he can go out there and he can deliver for you. And we've seen that when the run game has not been consistent, Sam Darnold will get the football to Justin Jefferson and to Jordan Addison. And it brings me into that conversation. They have the best wide receiving duo in the NFL right now. I understand we talk about Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, but they've been dealing with injuries this season. And the same with Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. They're all phenomenal in their own right. But when I look at Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson, 2 number 1 wide receivers. But Justin Jefferson is on a different level. Justin Jefferson, you can make the case that he's the best wide receiver in the NFL today. 939 receiving yards, 5 receiving touchdowns. You do have Jamar Chase in front of him, but Jamar Chase is in a completely different situation because their defense is so bad. Justin Jefferson is a complete game changer, and the same with Jordan Addison. And Jordan Addison has been misused a lot this year. Over the last few weeks, you see Kevin O'Connell, he's going out there, he's getting him involved, especially in the red zone. And the same with TJ Hockenson, who has missed majority of this year dealing with a torn ACL. But when he's fully healthy, he is one of the best tight ends in this game. He's yet to record a receiving touchdown on the year, but he's a major threat, especially going across the middle and running deep down the field. And I look at this situation with the Minnesota Vikings. You're complete. You have the run game with Aaron Jones. When he's fully healthy, he's a good running back. He's averaging 4.5 yards a carry, 798 rushing yards on the season, 3 rushing touchdowns. And it's very good to see that he still has some juice left in the tank, because part of the reason why the Green Bay Packers moved on, he was an older player. He dealt with a lot of injuries. And it has been some bumps in the road this year with the Minnesota Vikings. He's had to check out of some games due to injuries. You have Cam Akers, very good backup, but you have to watch out for Cam Akers. He's not an every down back, especially since he tore his Achilles a few years ago. I like the Minnesota Vikings a lot. I like the elite weapons that they have on the perimeter. It just comes down to Sam Darnold. Can he continue to step up in the big moments? They have very good wins on the season, and they have some tough losses. But their losses are to the Rams. It's no shame to lose to the Rams, and you lost by 8 points. And when you lost to the Detroit Lions, you lost by 2 points. One thing that's very funny is the fact that this Minnesota Vikings team went out there and they defeated the Green Bay Packers by 2 points also. But for more context in that matchup, it came down to basically a muff punt. And it put the Packers right into scoring range, and they got a free touchdown out of that play. Credit to the Green Bay Packers. But once again, the Minnesota Vikings, they were dominating them up to that point. That's the one thing also. We've seen the Minnesota Vikings go out there and play around with their competition. You go out there, you take care of your lead with the defense that you have, I think you'll be good in the long term. I'm not saying that this is a Super Bowl contender, but what I am saying, this is a dangerous team in the NFC, and the Detroit Lions, they don't just have a complete chokehold on this division. If they lose a couple of games, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens when the Detroit Lions play the Minnesota Vikings again. It's a chance the Minnesota Vikings could possibly win this division and go out there and control their own destiny in the NFL playoffs. And if that is the case, the NFC should watch out, because with this defense and with this offense, they can make a lot of noise. And to me, they're severely underrated in the NFL because they're one of the best teams in the NFL. I feel like a lot of people do not talk about the Minnesota Vikings as much is because Sam Darnold, because he's a guy that's a former first round pick for the New York Jets. His career got off to a troubled start, and now you're starting to see him be successful. And then you look beyond this point. JJ has been out this entire year dealing with a knee injury. You know, when it's time for him to go out there and play, it's a good chance that he's going to ball out in this system. But for right now, Sam Darnold is holding things down. You don't want him to go out there and throw 2 or 3 interceptions in a game. But if he does, this defense, they have the capability to go out there and bail him out. And the one thing I will say, Brian Flores realized the middle of the defense was exposed with some of those blitzes. He's not blitzing as much. They're just getting home to the quarterback with their original defensive fronts, and that's even scarier. But let me know in the comment section below, how do you guys feel about the Minnesota Vikings, and are they a legit contender in the NFC? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for the video, guys. God bless. Peace.